You have no idea how many times I came gently, trying not to frighten you, only to be silenced by the noise you let in. My still, small voice was enough when you were still sensitive to my presence, but now the distractions are louder than me. So I must raise my voice not in anger, but in desperate love. You're walking into territory that you weren't built for, stepping through doors that I never opened. I tried the gentle tug in your spirit, the uneasiness in your chest, the feeling something was off, but you ignored it. And because I love you too deeply to stay silent, I'm warning you now with thunder. Your soul is in danger. This is not about being a good person or avoiding a few bad choices. This is about your future unraveling if you keep going this way. Don't mistake my delay as indifference. I've been holding back consequences with my own hand, buying time for you to listen. But that time is running out. You are surrounded by influences that seem harmless but are planted to destroy. You are entertaining thoughts and habits that are poisoning your foundation. This is a divine intervention, not a suggestion. If I don't interrupt you now, the enemy will. And when he does, it won't feel like a warning, it'll feel like everything is crashing at once. But I don't want it to come to that. I am alerting you now because I want to rescue you before your collapse. Open your ears. Turn off everything else and focus. I am here, and this is not just another moment. This is me sounding the trumpet in your life, shaking the ground beneath you so you wake up before you fall. You think you have time. You think what you're facing is just another hard season, but what's approaching is unlike anything you've been through before. And the danger isn't just in the event, it's in your lack of preparation. Your heart has been numbed by repetition, dulled by routine. You've built your strength on things that can't sustain you when the storm hits. This is not fear-mongering, this is a holy alert from heaven. I see the trap ahead, and you're walking toward it casually. You've been so focused on what's in front of your eyes that you've ignored what's forming in the unseen. The enemy is crafting a scenario that looks innocent but is designed to make you question everything you know about me. He's after your confidence, your clarity, and your calling. He wants to twist the truth just enough to make you abandon it. If your heart isn't guarded in me, you'll start believing what feels right over what is right. That's how subtle this next attack is. It doesn't come just as disaster. It comes wrapped in convenience, in opportunity, in logic, in what seems like a good idea. But it's a trap, and your heart will only recognize it if it's anchored in my spirit. That's why I'm urging you return to prayer, return to fasting, return to my word not just occasionally, but daily. Not for performance, but for protection. If your heart is soft toward me, you will see the difference. If it's hard, you'll step straight into deception thinking it's direction. You can't afford to be caught off guard. Not now. Not when what's ahead has the power to reroute everything I've planned for you. Prepare with urgency. Refocus your spirit. And hear me clearly. I am not trying to scare you, I am trying to preserve you from a danger your eyes cannot yet see. This is the moment I confront the lie you've told yourself that what's been happening around you is just chance, just random, just life. No, those aren't coincidences. That repeated number, that closed door, that uneasy feeling when you're around certain people, that sudden delay, it's all me trying to get your attention. You're living in a web of warning signs, and I've placed them with love and precision. But you've explained them away, shrugged them off, or worse, called them normal. You've even started calling my interruptions bad luck. Child, what you call inconvenience, I call intervention. That missed opportunity you were angry about, I blocked it. That relationship that ended suddenly, I severed it to save you. That job you didn't get, the call that didn't come, the plan that collapsed. That was not life being cruel, that was me being protective. I've been screaming through the silence, shouting through closed doors, urging you to slow down and look deeper. But every time you rationalize the sign, you blind yourself further. And the danger in that is this: if you keep ignoring the language of heaven, you will become fluent in the lies of the enemy. I don't want that for you. It's why I'm exposing it now. The signs will not stop until you surrender, but the more you dismiss them, the more severe they will become. Don't wait until I have to strip everything to save your soul. I don't want to shout through pain. I want to whisper through peace. But that's your choice now. Will you keep calling my signs coincidence? Or will you finally admit I've been speaking all along? Wake up, child. This is not a drill, it's a divine rescue in progress. You didn't just miss my signs, you rejected the very lifelines I extended in mercy. I spoke in dreams that lingered in your chest like fire, but you told yourself they were just imagination. I sent people gentle voices, bold messengers, even strangers with timely words, but you waved them away, thinking they didn't understand what you were going through. You felt discomfort in certain rooms, uneasiness around certain choices, sudden peace when you pulled back, but you chose logic over discernment. You keep praying for me to speak, not realizing I already did, over and over again. When I sent correction, you labeled it judgment. When I sent clarity, you called it coincidence. When I sent conviction, you covered it in excuses. How many more people will I need to send before you believe I've been trying to reach you? How many moments will I have to orchestrate before you stop chalking it up to chance? You are not unaware, I made sure of that. You are not in the dark, I lit up your path with signs. But each time I interrupted your plans, you resented me for it. Each time I brought discomfort, you rushed to silence it with distractions. My warnings don't always come wrapped in fire from heaven, they come in delay, in conflict, in repeated patterns that disturb your rhythm. And now, the danger has grown louder because my gentler efforts were ignored. It's not that I've stopped speaking, it's that your heart has built defenses against me without realizing it. You've surrounded yourself with voices that tell you what you want to hear, but silence the voice that tells you what you need to hear. You say you want direction, but you only follow what doesn't challenge you. This is your wake-up call, child, not a whisper, but a cry from your Savior. You are standing in the middle of a battlefield, and I am shouting over the noise of your pride, your fear, and your rebellion because I still love you enough to warn you again. You were never meant to navigate this alone, and I never stopped trying to help. But now the season has shifted. This is not just a warning, it's the last chance before what you're ignoring becomes what you regret. I sent the whisper. You shut the door. I sent the friend. You mocked the message. I sent the dream. You shook it off. And now, I come with urgency, not to condemn, but to intervene. Let me in before your defenses destroy what I'm still trying to rescue. Listen now, before it's too late to respond. You are surrounded, and not just by circumstances, but by forces that are aiming to dismantle everything I built within you. You cannot see all of it with your natural eyes, but your spirit has already felt the tension. There's a heaviness that follows you into every room, a pressure that sits on your chest when you lie down at night. This isn't just stress. It's not just anxiety. What you are facing is a multi-layered attack that's targeting your spirit to weaken your discernment, your emotions to distort your peace, and your physical world to shake your stability. This is why you felt so worn out even when you're doing less than usual. This is why you've been quick to snap, quick to cry, quick to retreat, because what's around you is draining the strength within you. It didn't start overnight. It crept in slowly, like smoke through a cracked window, until it filled your mind with confusion and coated your joy in numbness. I've been trying to show you that what looks like ordinary disappointment is being fueled by something much darker. The enemy is not content with bothering you, he wants to break you. He wants to isolate you, then accuse you. He wants you to believe that what you're feeling is just weakness, so you never realize it's warfare. This danger is not passive, it's active. It's moving around your routines, trying to find a vulnerable opening. That's why old temptations have started resurfacing. That's why people you left behind are reappearing suddenly. That's why your dreams are becoming unsettling. Every part of this is meant to weaken your resistance so you settle for what I never intended. And still, in the middle of this, I have not abandoned you. I'm speaking now because you are closer to the edge than you understand. Your feet are walking paths that look familiar but are no longer safe. Conversations you think are harmless are portals for deception. Habits that once seemed manageable are becoming chains. And the most dangerous thing of all is how normal it's starting to feel. That's how the enemy works. He desensitizes you until danger becomes comfort and conviction becomes annoyance. That's why I'm speaking clearly, loudly, directly. You cannot fight what you won't identify. And you cannot overcome what you continue to excuse. This isn't just an attack on your weak, it's a siege against your soul. And it's time you recognized it for what it truly is. I am giving you eyes to see, child. I'm uncovering what's been hiding in plain sight. You don't have to be afraid, but you do have to be aware. And you must act. Strength will not come from pretending everything is fine. It will come from stepping back into the secret place where my voice is louder than the lies. Let me show you what's been hiding beneath the surface. Let me expose what's been plotting in the background. Because if you continue walking unaware, this danger will grow until it touches more than just your mind. It will start influencing your destiny. And I have not brought you this far to let darkness rewrite what I authored. Come to me. Thou. Don't wait for the breakdown. Don't wait for the crash. You are surrounded, but so am I. And when you let me step in, no weapon formed against you can remain hidden or strong. But you must let me in fully, urgently, completely before what's around you pulls you under. Each step you take, though you feel confident, is bringing you nearer to a collapse you aren't expecting. The illusion of control has tricked you into thinking you're still on solid ground, but beneath your feet the support is weakening with every compromise, every delay in obedience, every time you silence my voice for the sake of your comfort. You've grown used to functioning in instability. You've learned to balance on broken edges so well that you think you're secure, but I can see what you can't. I see the fractures underneath your routine. I see how the structure of your life is leaning too far in a direction that cannot hold. This is not about being near trouble, it's about becoming numb to it. That's where the danger intensifies. Because it's not just that you're near the edge, it's that you've stopped recognizing how far from safety you've drifted. You no longer feel the urgency to step back, because you've learned to live on the edge as if it were home. But this false confidence will betray you. What you don't see is how the enemy is shaking that ground just enough to keep you comfortable, waiting for the right moment to pull it from under you completely. That relationship you keep entertaining even though you know it drains your soul, it's the ledge. It's secret thought pattern you haven't surrendered, it's the crack. That habit you continue to justify, it's the loose stone. All of it is forming a path to collapse. Not because I want it to happen, but because ignoring warnings doesn't stop consequences. I've held you up many times when you didn't even know you were slipping. I've caught you mid-fall before anyone else saw. But I will not let you live in delusion. I am removing the illusion of safety so you finally confront the reality of your steps. You were meant to walk on paths of peace, not edges of destruction. But when you become desensitized to danger, even instability begins to feel normal. That's why I'm shaking the ground now, not to harm you, but to awaken you. I'd rather you tremble in truth than feel secure in a lie. The shaking is mercy. The tremble is a gift. I'm disrupting the illusion before the collapse becomes irreversible. But you must decide, will you continue forward pretending the shaking is just stress? Or will you admit that you've come too close to what's meant to destroy you? I'm reaching my hand out now, not just to rescue you, but to reroute you. Because this path, if continued, doesn't end in inconvenience, it ends in devastation. And it won't just affect you, it will ripple into everything connected to you. That's how severe this is. That's why I'm not staying quiet. This is a moment that will define the direction of your life. I won't let you fall without a final warning. And this is it. My voice is the edge between you and the fall. Ram it before it's too late. The ground will not hold much longer. Step back, child, run if you must, but don't ignore what you feel trembling beneath you. You don't realize how many battles I fought behind the veil, how many fiery arrows were aimed straight at your mind, your heart, your plans, and I blocked them before they reached you. There were moments you should have collapsed under the weight of consequences, but I intercepted the impact. Not because you were perfect, but because my love covered what your discernment missed. I shielded your name from being destroyed. I guarded your reputation when people plotted quietly. I diverted accidents, removed toxic opportunities, even altered timing to give you space to heal and grow. But now I'm watching you choose what I've protected you from. You're moving back toward the very things I rescued you out of. The walls I built around you are not crumbling on their own, you are opening them with your decisions. Every time you choose to ignore that check in your spirit, a new crack forms. Every time you pretend you're fine while refusing my help, the enemy finds a point of access. You have to understand, grace doesn't mean immunity from consequence forever. I gave you grace so you would turn, not so you would settle. I covered you so you could recover, not so you could return to what was breaking you. But you've mistaken my protection for permission. That's where the danger lies now. You believe because nothing fell apart immediately, it means you're safe. But delay is not absence. The weight is still building. And your own choices are weakening the barriers I fought to establish. It's not that I've stopped defending you, it's that you're inviting destruction into the very places I healed. I didn't bring you this far for you to rebuild with the same bricks I tore down. Those coping mechanisms, those relationships rooted in fantasy, those compromises that once nearly drowned you, they are not harmless. They are haunting. And you started giving them power again. You think you're stronger now, but strength isn't measured by how close you can stand to the fire. It's proven when you walk away before it burns. I've given you escape routes, but you've labeled them inconvenient. I've whispered exit strategies, but you've chosen silence over surrender. And now the cracks are widening. It starts subtly: less peace in your sleep, more tension in your body, disconnection from me even though you still say my name. But it grows. And eventually, if unchecked, it bursts. That's why I'm speaking with urgency now. Because this isn't just about protection from others, it's about protection from self-inflicted harm. The greatest threat in this moment isn't what's coming against you, it's what you're letting in. And I cannot protect what you continually surrender to compromise. But here's my mercy. The cracks can be sealed. The damage can be repaired, but you have to choose me above everything else. No more divided loyalty. No more pretending partial surrender is obedience. I won't let you live broken behind the mask of strength. I won't let you fake safety while crumbling inside. The moment is now. Turn back before what's exposed becomes irreversible. Let me restore the places you've unknowingly weakened. I still want to shield you, but I need you to stop walking into the line of fire. He isn't coming with horns or rage. He's approaching with false peace, with charm, with promises that mirror your prayers. The danger now is not the obvious attack, but the deceptive offer that looks like a blessing. The enemy has studied your desires. He knows the shape of what you've been waiting for. He's watched your weariness and understands how to package temptation as relief. And right now, he is closer than you can perceive, hiding within people, decisions, and even opportunities that feel familiar and safe. This isn't about evil that looks evil, this is about danger that feels good. It's about a counterfeit that talks like hope, dresses like purpose, but carries poison underneath. You've asked me for answers, and now you must understand, not everything sent to you is from me, even if it looks like an open door. The enemy has learned how to imitate the light, how to mimic timing, how to speak in language that sounds like destiny. If your heart is not anchored in truth, you will follow the glow of the wrong source. That's what makes this season so dangerous. You're vulnerable to anything that offers escape. You're tempted to accept quick solutions over divine process. You want clarity so badly, you might settle for confusion disguised as clarity. But I love you too much to let that happen without a fight. It's why I'm exposing it now. I'm pulling the veil off the smiling faces and sweet words that carry hidden motives. I'm showing you how to look beyond the appearance and test the spirit. Because right now, the enemy isn't trying to destroy you from the outside, he's trying to attach himself to you from the inside. through agreements, through emotion, through misplaced trust. And if you don't sharpen your discernment, you allow him access to places in your life that I've spent time cleansing. This isn't paranoia, this is revelation. You're in a moment where discernment is more important than logic. Your eyes will deceive you if your spirit isn't awake. That opportunity may come with favor, but no peace. That person may say all the right words but carry all the wrong intentions. That decision may promise breakthrough, but lead to bondage. Don't be deceived by the light if it doesn't carry my presence. Don't follow the voice if it contradicts my character. I'm not trying to hold you back, I'm trying to hold you together. There is a trap ahead that's been covered in glitter. There is a strategy in motion to make you embrace what will drain you. And I cannot stay silent while you move toward it. Test everything. Return to my word. Stay hidden in my presence. You don't need to fear what's ahead, but you do need to see clearly. The enemy has no authority unless you hand it to him. And he cannot invade what you keep guarded by me. But you must recognize him now. The time for casual trust is over. You cannot afford to treat everything that shines as divine. Let me open your eyes before you bind your heart to something sent to blind you. It doesn't wear the face of destruction. It doesn't shout or strike. It grieves. It lingers. It attaches itself to your schedule, your conversations, your scrolling, your silence. It's the slow erosion of your strength, happening not through crises but through compromise. The thing that seems so small, so manageable, so insignificant, it's what's weakening your spiritual fire. You tell yourself you're fine because it hasn't broken you. But what you haven't noticed is that it's bending you, little by little, and making you comfortable with things you once ran from. You wake up tired not because your body is exhausted, but because your soul is being drained by what you tolerate. You're finding it harder to pray, not because you've grown distant from me, but because you've allowed subtle substitutes to take my place. I see it, the conversations you allow to linger too long, the thoughts you refuse to cast down, the choices you convince yourself are just for now. But those things aren't passive, they are active. They are leeching your peace, bleeding your focus, feeding your doubt. You wonder why you're so agitated, so easily irritated, so quickly discouraged, and it's because you're living with constant internal erosion. You're carrying things I never assigned you to carry. You're listening to voices I never told you to entertain. And while you call them harmless, they are sowing seeds of spiritual fatigue. You don't have to fall dramatically to lose strength. Sometimes, it's the weight of unaddressed distractions that slowly suffocates your joy. And I can't stand by and let you normalize that. I didn't call you to survival, I called you to overflow. And right now, you're surviving beneath the surface, running on what's left of yesterday's fire, trying to fake wholeness when inside, you're fading. But I see it, child. I see how you're pushing through the numbness. I see how your smile is wearing thin. I see how your hope is quietly leaking while you pretend everything is under control. You weren't meant to live this way. This half-full, half-aware, half-awake version of you is not the one I died to redeem. I want your heart back, fully. I want your mind renewed. I want your spirit realigned. But to do that, you must confront what you've been calling not a big deal. Because it is a big deal when something takes my place in your life. It is a big deal when your joy becomes dependent on anything but me. And it is a big deal when you normalize inner warfare just to maintain outward appearance. That's not peace, it's pretense. And you are too precious to me for me to let you live one more day like this. Let me in. Let me clear out the hidden drains. Let me shine a light on the tolerated things that have been siphoning your strength. I'm not coming to shame you, I'm coming to rescue you from the subtle suffocation that has stolen your breath without you noticing. There is healing here. There is restoration available. But it begins when you stop calling what's killing you harmless and start seeing it through the eyes of heaven. The peace you've been begging for is waiting on the other side of surrender. You did invite them, and all at once they came in slowly, attached to convenience, wrapped in comfort, and you didn't notice how easily they took root. Some entered through what you watched when you were tired. Others came through people who made you feel seen, but never sharpened you. There were voices you followed because they sounded motivational, but their foundation wasn't truth, it was flattery. And now, these influences have built small altars inside your thinking. They've reshaped how you see me, how you see yourself, and how you respond to conviction. You used to grieve when you drifted, now you defend it. You used to hunger for my word, now you sample it between distractions. You used to test every spirit, but lately you've been letting anything speak into your soul as long as it doesn't make you uncomfortable. These influences don't scream, they whisper. And their power lies in how much of your space they quietly occupy. That show that entertains but subtly mocks holiness. It's teaching your heart to laugh at what I call sacred. That friend who always encourages compromise in the name of self-care. They are not leading you toward freedom, they are pulling you into numbness. That voice you follow, who mixes truth with distortion just to keep attention. They are planting seeds of confusion that blur your ability to recognize me. And you wonder why clarity feels so far from you lately. It's because you've surrounded yourself with sound, but not with spirit. You've been letting voices echo in your heart that were never sent by heaven. Not every influencer is anointed. Not every friendship is aligned. Not every idea that sounds good is godly. And I know this is hard to hear, but I speak it in fierce love. You cannot expect peace while partnering with pollution. You cannot walk in power while submitting your ears to confusion. I am the good shepherd, and my sheep know my voice, but your ears have become so filled with imitation that my voice now sounds unfamiliar. You didn't intend for this to happen. But intent doesn't stop infection. Influence is powerful. What you absorb begins to alter how you think, how you feel, how you discern. You can't keep feeding your soul content that dulls your sensitivity to me and expect your spirit to stay sharp. I want you back, not the distracted version, not the half-present one. I want the part of you that used to tremble when I whispered. I want the part that used to turn things off mid-scene because you felt my conviction. I want the part that used to filter every influence through the lens of truth. You haven't lost that part forever, but you've buried it beneath too many voices. And I'm coming now to clear the noise. But you must cooperate. You must be willing to shut the doors you've left open. You must be honest about who and what is shaping you. Not everything you like is safe. Not everyone you listen to is clean. And not every feeling of comfort is for me. I'm calling you out of the crowd of confusion, out of the storm of voices, and back to the stillness where only my voice reigns. Purge the influencers. Purge the distractions. Purge the content that dulls your hunger for me. What you allow in will either build you or break you. And I did not shed my blood so you could be led by strangers. Return to the shepherd. Let me lead your ears again, and your heart will follow. You think they're small, those routines, those late-night patterns, those things you do when no one's watching. You've labeled them just habits, harmless repetitions, things you can stop whenever you decide. But I see the spirit behind them. I see how they've been building walls around your sensitivity, brick by brick, action by action, until what once felt like conviction now feels like normalcy. These are not mere behaviors, they are open gates, and the enemy has been walking through them undetected. Every time you choose what numbs you instead of what nourishes you, a little more of your clarity fades. You've grown used to functioning in cycles that feed your flesh while starving your spirit. And it's not just affecting your mood, it's weakening your discernment. What you do when you're bored matters. What you repeat when you're stressed reveals where you run for comfort. That endless scrolling, that secret indulgence, that delay in obedience, none of it is neutral. You are always sowing something, even in what you call downtime. And what you sow, you will harvest. I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying it because you're on the edge of reinforcing a system that will enslave you. Some of the doors you've left open through these habits have become entrances for doubt, fear, anxiety, and lust. They sneak in through repetition. The more you repeat the habit, the less resistance you feel. The more familiar the behavior, the less urgent the escape seems. And this is exactly how strongholds form, not through giant failures, but through tolerated rhythms that slowly strangle your freedom. You've told yourself, "I'll stop soon." But soon never arrives because comfort is a liar. Comfort keeps telling you, it's not that serious, while destruction is patiently waiting for you to ignore the warning one more time. I'm not telling you to try harder. I'm telling you to surrender deeper. The habits you've been entertaining are trying to rewrite your spiritual identity. They're not just stealing your time, they're attempting to reshape your appetite. That's why you feel distant even after praying. That's why your worship feels routine. Because your habits are feeding your flesh daily while your spirit is left asking for crumbs. And child, I love you too much to let you keep living like this. This isn't about legalism, it's about survival. The little things you do every day matter more than the one-time moments that make you feel spiritual. If you don't choose your habits intentionally, it will choose your future without your permission. I see where this path leads. You don't. That's why I'm interrupting you now. I'm not calling you to perfection, I'm calling you to alignment. I want your habits to reflect your hunger for me. I want your daily choices to build strength, not secrecy. Because the enemy is not intimidated by someone who sings about me once a week, he fears the one who walks with me daily. Even when no one is watching. You still have time to change this. But the longer you delay, the deeper the patterns will root themselves. Let me in now. Let me examine the routine places. Let me show you what you've normalized that was never meant to remain. Freedom begins where excuses end. I want you free completely. And that means the little things must be surrendered to. You've called them safe. You've called them loyal. You said, they've been there for me. And so you hold on tightly even as I try to gently pull your hands away. You've confused history with purpose, connection with covenant. But I see what you don't. I see what that relationship is silently doing to your spirit. Not all companionship is covering. Not all closeness is protection. Some people are in your life not because I placed them there, but because you invited them in during a moment of vulnerability, and now you fear letting go will leave you empty. But child, listen to me. Anything that quietly suffocates your spiritual growth is not from me. If being close to someone consistently makes you feel further from my presence, then you are entangled, not empowered. I've watched you shrink your convictions just to keep the peace. I've seen you silence your truth to keep from offending. You've traded your identity for their approval, little by little, until you don't even notice how spiritually exhausted you feel after being around them. That is not love. That is manipulation wrapped in the disguise of familiarity. You've been so afraid of abandonment that you're tolerating chains. But staying connected to someone who is no longer aligned with your calling is costing you more than you realize. They may not raise their voice, but their influence drowns mine. They may not criticize openly, but their opinions have taken priority over what I've whispered to you in the quiet. You used to dream boldly, believe freely, stand firmly until you started adjusting your faith to make room for their doubt. And I can't stay silent while this continues. I'm not asking you to hate them. I'm asking you to release them. Because what's coming next requires you to be surrounded by people who stir your spirit, not drain it. You can't carry your assignment while being entangled with someone who questions everything I've spoken over you. This is not about judgment. It's about protection. I see how much you've cried trying to make it work. I know how much you hope they'd change. But I never asked you to be their savior. I asked you to follow mine. I'm not calling you to abandon love, I'm calling you to redefine what love looks like. Love doesn't always mean access. Forgiveness doesn't always require friendship. You can bless them and still walk away. You can intercede for them and still create distance. You can care deeply and still choose obedience over attachment. I know this is going to hurt, but temporary grief is better than a lifetime of compromise. And once you release what's been weakening your foundation, I will send who and what strengthens it again. You will be left empty. You'll be realigned. But you must stop clinging to what I'm trying to remove. They were never meant to walk into the next season with you. Let me untangle the tie before it chokes what remains of your fire. You felt me tug at your heart. That moment you paused mid-conversation, that stirring deep inside when you replayed that choice, that heaviness you couldn't explain when you thought about staying. I was there, gently urging you to leave. Not to punish you, not to shame you, but to protect the version of you that I'm still shaping. But instead of moving, you hesitated. You told yourself, it's not that bad. I can manage this. I'm stronger now. You convinced yourself that you could fix what I was calling you to release. You mistook discernment for discomfort and called my red flags just emotions. But child, I never asked you to be strong enough to endure what I already commanded you to exit. I gave you the warning because I saw what was ahead. You stayed because you wanted to prove you were faithful, but your faithfulness to what I never built is draining what I planted in you. You're holding together something that's quietly tearing you apart. Every day you stay in what I told you to leave, your spirit grows weary. You feel it even if no one sees it. The confusion, the delays, the dullness of purpose, the way worship feels distant, the way clarity flickers like a dying flame, all of that is evidence that you're operating in a place I'm no longer blessing. And it's not because I'm angry. It's because I know what staying will cost you. I know what's happening behind the curtain you haven't pulled back yet. I see the conversations about you that you're not hearing. I see the cycles forming around you while you sleep. I see how the enemy is using this delay to entangle you deeper until you lose sight of what you once believed. You were never meant to navigate this on your own. The moment I said walk, I already had provision waiting on the other side of obedience. You were supposed to leave with strength, not stay with pride. This is not about failure, it's about correction. I'm still reaching for you. I haven't withdrawn my voice, even though you've quieted it beneath your own reasoning. You thought staying proved maturity. But sometimes maturity is learning when to walk away in silence instead of waiting for things to collapse in chaos. You're not weak for leaving. You're wise. I never asked you to carry the burden of proving anything. I only asked for surrender. And if you'd trust me enough to release what you've been gripping with white knuckles, you'd see how quickly I can restore what's been draining you. This isn't just about a situation, it's about your soul. It's about your fire. It's about your focus. What you think is manageable now will soon multiply, and I don't want to see you stuck when I've already made a way out. Stop believing the lie that staying means you're strong. Strength is moving when it hurts, when it's unclear, when it costs you what felt familiar. Strength is trusting me even when your logic screams otherwise. I asked you to walk away not because you weren't valuable there, but because you are too valuable to stay there. I'm waiting for your yes. Not the kind you whisper while staying put, but the kind that picks up and moves, even when it doesn't make sense. There's freedom on the other side of obedience. Let go before what you're clinging to becomes the very thing that silences your calling. You wear strength so well in front of others that they think you're thriving, but I see the weight you carry when no one is looking. You've become skilled at smiling while your heart is unraveling quietly behind the scenes. I've watched the way your eyes fill with tears when the room goes dark and the noise fades. I've heard the sighs that escape your lips as you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer you can pretend you're okay. They may only see your highlights, but I see the moments you curl into yourself and ask questions you're too afraid to voice aloud. I know about the war in your mind, the tug-of-war between your faith and your fear, between what you know and what you feel. There's a storm inside you, and you've gotten so used to it that you think it's normal. But I never created you to survive in torment. I didn't form you in secret just to have you suffer in silence. You've been trying to keep it together for everyone else's sake. You don't want to burden them, so you carry it all alone, hoping that maybe tomorrow you'll feel lighter. But it's only getting heavier, isn't it? That's because you've been handing pieces of yourself to people who can't help you, and withholding the whole of you from the one who can. I've been there the whole time, watching, waiting, whispering. But you've been afraid to collapse in front of me. You thought showing weakness in prayer meant you lacked faith. No, beloved, it means you trust me enough to finally be honest. What you're battling behind the curtain is real, and so is my compassion. You haven't disappointed me with your struggle. I don't grow weary of your tears. I don't back away when your thoughts spiral. I draw nearer. I come closer. I sit with you when you can't speak. I place my hand on your shoulder when the anxiety grips your chest. I know every hidden war that triggers, the shame, the flashbacks, the numbness. And I'm not repulsed. I'm not impatient. I'm not distant. I'm right here, reaching into the darkest corners of your pain with the light of truth that can't be dimmed. You've asked me to fix your situation, but I want to go deeper. I want to heal the wound behind the symptom, the root behind the outburst, the scar beneath the smile. You've believed that if no one sees your breakdown, it doesn't count. But I see it, and it matters to me. Every silent tear you've cried is a language I understand. Every breathless prayer, every whispered help, every moment you stared into nothing, none of it is forgotten. You don't have to bleed quietly anymore. You don't have to pretend strength while you're breaking. Let the walls fall down with me. You are not a burden. You are my beloved. I'm not looking for you to clean yourself up before coming to me. I'm asking you to come undone in my arms so I can rebuild you with grace. I can't heal what you keep hiding. I can't comfort what you keep numbing. But if you let me into the room you've locked from the inside, I will do more than patch you up. I will restore you from the inside out. You are not alone, even in your most isolated moment. I see you, I know you, and I'm still choosing to stay. Let me in. The battle doesn't have to stay hidden anymore. You've gotten so used to wearing a mask that even you have started to believe the lie it tells. You've convinced yourself that staying busy will silence the ache, that smiling will erase the sorrow, that moving forward without pause means you've healed. But your soul knows better. Beneath the rehearsed responses and the endless routines, I hear the cry that escapes when the noise settles, the cry for something deeper, something real, something eternal. You're not just tired in your body. You're weary in your spirit. And no amount of distraction will fill the hollow space that longs for me. I see how you scroll, hoping something you read will finally settle your heart. I see how you pour into others so you don't have to confront the emptiness growing within yourself. You've been chasing productivity to quiet the panic. You've been tolerating noise because silence makes you feel too exposed. But the truth is this: you are not okay. And that is not failure, it is an invitation. Your soul is suffocating under the weight of pretense. It's gasping, not because you're weak, but because you've gone too long without oxygen from my presence. You've been breathing in expectations from others and calling it life. You've been inhaling pressure, performance, and perfection, thinking it would make you stronger. But it's only made you hollow. And I can no longer let you live like this. You were not created to survive in a world of surface-level peace while your inner world is in chaos. You were designed for deep communion, not shallow coping. And right now, your soul is not asking for more effort, it's begging for authenticity. You've said you trust me, but you haven't brought me the most broken parts of you. You keep offering me the version of you that looks cleaned up, while the real you hides in the back, afraid I'll reject what's raw. But I cannot heal what you won't bring to me. I cannot restore what you pretend doesn't need help. Stop calling your exhaustion strength. Stop calling your avoidance wisdom. What you need is not another strategy, it's surrender. Your soul needs rest, not just for your body, but for your identity. You've forgotten who you are because you've been too busy trying to be who the world says you should be. But I remember. I remember the childlike wonder you once had. I remember the quiet moments when my voice was enough. I remember when your joy wasn't tied to results. And I long to bring you back to that place, not by sending you backward, but by restoring your heart in the present. You don't need to collapse to finally admit you're empty. You can come to me now. I won't scold you. I won't shame you. I'll hold you. I'll breathe into you again. I'll remind you that you were never supposed to be everything for everyone. I was always meant to be everything for you. Let the tears fall. Let the tension break. Let the honesty rise. You are not as alone as you feel. I am closer than your thoughts, nearer than your breath, and fully aware of every thread unraveling in your soul. Let me reweave what has come undone. Come out of hiding. You don't need to pretend anymore, not with me. I am the truth your soul is starving for. I am the rest your heart has been searching for. You don't have to keep performing to be loved. You already are. Just as you are, even now. You keep trying to outrun what's inside you by filling every second with noise. If the silence lingers too long, the ache gets too loud, so you grab your phone, turn on a show, call someone, scroll endlessly, chase one task after another. You say you're just keeping busy, but deep down you know the truth. You're trying not to feel. You're afraid that if you slow down, you'll have to face what's really breaking underneath. But child, you can't heal what you keep numbing. You can't move forward while feeding your wounds with empty comforts. The distractions may offer temporary relief, but they will never bring true restoration. They dull the ache, but they don't remove it. They entertain the surface while your soul continues to starve underneath. And I did not create you to live like this, half alive, emotionally fragmented, spiritually distant. I see how you bury your pain beneath productivity. I know how you use tasks to escape thoughts you can't process. But this endless movement isn't keeping you safe, it's keeping you stuck. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually delaying your breakthrough. I don't want you to crash before you finally slow down. I'm calling you now, before your inner life collapses under the weight of neglect. Come back to me. Not for a performance, not to recite a list of needs, but to breathe, to sit, to be known again. I don't need you to have the right words. I just want your honesty. I want the silence where you feel like falling apart. I want the part of you that doesn't know how to pray anymore. I want the tired version, the confused version, the distant one. Because I can handle what you've been trying to manage alone. Those things that are fading, your joy, your peace, your hope, they are not lost forever. They've been waiting for your return. Every moment you turn to distractions instead of me, they slipped further into the background. But I didn't bring them back. I can breathe life into what's grown numb. I can reawaken what felt permanently shut down. I'm not asking you to fix yourself before coming. I'm asking you to stop pretending something else will fix what only my presence can restore. There is healing in stillness. There is clarity in quiet. But you have to be willing to let go of the noise. You don't have to have it all figured out to come back. You just have to be tired of running. You just have to admit the things you've been leaning on aren't strong enough to carry you. And when you do, when you finally say, Jesus, I can't do this like this anymore, you will feel the weight begin to lift. Because I am not in the chaos. I am in the calm after surrender. You've been afraid to feel again because you think it will hurt. But I say, feel again because I'm here to heal it, not to let it destroy you. Let the walls fall. Let the layers peel back. Let the ache surface. I will not let it crush you. I will meet you in it. And I will restore what's fading. You were never meant to carry your pain into the arms of distractions. You were meant to bring it into the arms of your Savior. Come back now. Don't wait until you're completely empty. Come while there's still a flicker left. I'll fan it into flame. I'll revive what you thought was gone. But first, you must turn away from what hath been silently draining you. Come home, child. I've been waiting. You've been trying to reason your way out of what's confronting your spirit. You've been applying strategies, reading advice, organizing your steps, thinking if you just plan it better, or try harder, you'll regain the peace you lost. But what you're facing right now is not something your mind cannot think or your strength cannot work. It is spiritual in nature, and the only weapon that can overcome it is surrender, not partial, not temporary, not selective, total surrender. I'm not asking you to give up, I'm asking you to give it over. There's a difference. Giving up is what the enemy wants. Giving over is what I desire. When you give something over to me, You remove your hands from what they were never meant to control in the first place. You've been holding on to situations, people, emotions, responsibilities, regrets, and every time you grip them tighter, they drain you more. You keep looking for the next solution when I've already given you the invitation. Come to me. Not with your performance, not with your perfect prayer, with your honesty, with your tears, with your confusion, with your weariness. Surrender is not weakness, it's power cloaked in humility. It's the decision to trust that I can do more in one moment of yielded obedience than you can do in years of striving. You've been walking in circles, making slight improvements, but never truly breaking free because you're still relying on your own insight. And I never asked you to carry this alone. I didn't design you to be self-sufficient, I created you to be God-dependent. That's why your logic isn't working right now. It's why your well-thought-out plan keeps falling short. Because this moment was never meant to be figured out, it was meant to be surrendered. You've reached the limit of your understanding on purpose, because I'm calling you higher than where your intellect can go. I'm not asking for what I'm asking for glasses. Let me into the parts of your heart that you've tried to protect, the areas you thought you could manage without me. You've been afraid that letting go means losing control. But child, control was never security, it was a burden disguised as safety. I know you're afraid of what will happen if you stop managing every detail. But I already see the whole picture, and my hand is steady even when yours is trembling. You don't need to carry the weight of being your own savior. That's not your job. That's mine. All I need is your yes. Your real yes. The one that opens every locked door. The one that stops negotiating and simply says, I trust you, Lord. That's where the power begins. That's where the breakthrough starts. You keep asking me to fight for you, but I can't fight what you still claim as yours. I won't barge and I wait to be welcomed. And when you surrender, truly surrender, you give me room to heal what's broken, remove what's harmful, and breathe life into what's been buried. I will not delay once you yield. The shift will begin when your hands lift, when your striving ceases, when your heart bows low in total dependence. This battle is not won by force. It is won by surrender. I'm still here, waiting not for your perfection, but for your permission. Will you trust me enough to lay it all down? Not just what hurts, but what you thought you could fix without me. I promise, child, if you surrender now, what felt like an end will become the beginning of something only I could write. This is not just another passing warning, this is the crossroads. The line in the sand. The moment where choices carry weight far beyond what your eyes can presently see. What you decide now, what you allow, what you silence, what you entertain, each action is planting a seed, and that seed will grow, whether in truth or in tragedy. You've had seasons before where you hesitated, delayed, chose what was easier, and I still reached for you with grace. But this moment carries a different urgency. The window that's open right now is specific. It's not just about what's in front of you. It's about what's forming beyond the surface, what's positioning itself to either bless you or bind you. And child, if you turn away from this voice now, it won't just be a missed opportunity, it will open the door for consequences that were never meant for you. I'm not saying that to strike fear into your heart, I'm saying it because I love you too much to stay silent when you are this close to stepping into something that will take more from you than you're willing to give. The enemy doesn't strike all at once. He waits until complacency sets in, until you stop noticing how far you've drifted, until delay becomes disobedience and apathy becomes agreement. And right now, that's what he's counting on, that you'll treat this moment as another emotional wave and not a divine alert. But I'm here to shake you awake. I'm speaking with fire, not to burn you, but to refine you, to melt the resistance that's been keeping you from fully turning back. What comes next depends on whether you respond or retreat. I won't force you. I never have. But I won't sugarcoat it either. The next moment, the one you can't see, is shaped by your response to this one. The things you've been tolerating in secret, the cycles you've been putting off confronting, the places you've compromised because they felt too comfortable to leave, all of it will begin demanding payment. And what feels manageable today could become bondage tomorrow if left unaddressed. I'm giving you this warning because my mercy always comes before judgment. I'm not casting you away, I'm calling you closer. But the cost of silence in the face of my voice is always higher than obedience in the moment of truth. I see what's waiting to attach itself to your future if you walk past this moment. I see the emotional wreckage, the spiritual confusion, the broken relationships, the lost time, not because I'm planning it, but because I know where unheeded warnings lead. And child, I never called you to learn by loss. I called you to grow through wisdom. But that wisdom must begin now. That means repentance now. That means change now. That means surrender now. Not next week. Not when you feel more ready. Not after one more compromise. Now, I am the God of mercy, but I am also the God of order. And I will not bless what defies my design. I want to take you into promise, not rescue you from collapse. But I need your agreement. I need your response. I need your heart to recognize that this moment is holy, not just heavy. There's grace here, but grace is not an excuse to stay where you are. It's the invitation to rise before the weight of delay presses you down. I am still speaking. I am still reaching. I am still waiting, but the next moment is shaped by your choice in this one. Will you walk away unchanged, or will you yield before the cost becomes too high? You don't see the flames yet, but I do. They're rising slowly around places in your life where you've compromised for comfort, tolerated what I've asked you to lay down, and entertained ideas that weren't born from my spirit. The smoke is already in the air. You felt it in the unease that won't go away, the pressure building behind your eyes, the restlessness that no sleep or distraction can quiet. That's not random, that's me sounding the alarm before you step into something that could consume more than just your plans. I've been guarding you longer than you realize. I've stood between you and dangers that never reached you. I've absorbed battles that never showed up at your door. But now, you're edging toward territory where I cannot shield what you willingly step into. And I say this with tears in my voice. I will not force you to stay in safety. I gave you the power to choose. But my love will never stay silent while you inch toward devastation, thinking it's just another hard season. I've seen too many of my children underestimate the cost of ignoring my pull, how quickly one compromise becomes captivity, how a single just this once can build a prison with invisible walls. And I will not watch that happen to you without intervention. I'm confronting you, not to push you away, but to pull you back before the flames reach what you thought was untouchable. You think you're strong enough to handle it, but this is not about strength, it's about obedience. Even the strongest can fall when they walk without direction. And you, beloved, have been walking on ground I never laid. That's why it feels so unstable. That's why the peace doesn't last. That's why clarity fades as quickly as it comes. It's not because I've abandoned you, it's because you've been drifting from my covering. But I'm here now, calling out before it's too late. I know the fire ahead. It's disguised as opportunity, as freedom, even as love. But it burns everything you've been trying to build. It doesn't just scorch your plans, it aims for your purpose. It doesn't only hurt your heart, it numbs your spirit. And I love you too deeply to let you walk into it with blind trust in your own understanding. Let me redirect you now. Let me block the path with my word, my presence, my voice. You're not failing by turning around, you're being rescued. You're not weak for backing out, you're wise. It's not too late. You haven't gone too far. Even if the heat feels close, even if you already stepped past the warning signs, I can still pull you out before the flames touch you. But you must let go of what's luring you forward. You must stop pretending this is harmless. Stop calling this season a test when I've already told you to turn. I'm not the one putting you through this pain, I'm the one trying to pull you from it. The tension you feel every time you get quiet. That's me. The check in your spirit before you say yes again. That's me. Don't push past it. Don't silence it. That is the sound of my love and warning. And if you ignore it, I will still love you, but I cannot protect what you choose over me. Return, not with guilt, but with urgency. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to come back into the shelter of my presence. I never stopped being your refuge, but I cannot be your covering if you keep stepping outside. Child, hear me now. I'm not trying to take from you, I'm trying to save what matters most. Let me pull you out before the fire takes hold. You've made room for things that ease your emotions but cloud your discernment. Somewhere along the way, you began exchanging conviction for convenience, and now the lines between right and almost right have started to blur. You used to know when something grieved your spirit, but now you call it just part of life. What you once avoided out of reverence, you now entertain out of routine. And though it soothes you temporarily, it's dulling your ability to hear me clearly. Comfort isn't always safety, it can be a slow fade into spiritual sleep. I've watched you settle in spaces I never assigned, simply because they required less of you. You've adjusted your appetite to fit your surroundings instead of allowing me to transform your environment through you. And this shift has not been harmless. It's making it harder for you to recognize my voice, harder to discern between my guidance and your own preferences. That's the real danger, not that you're in obvious rebellion, but that you're in subtle drift. And I won't let you drift into darkness disguised as rest. You weren't made to live in survival mode, pacified by temporary ease. You were made to walk in fire-tested wisdom, moved by purpose, guided by truth. But clarity comes at a cost. It requires confrontation. And confrontation is uncomfortable. That's why you've avoided it. That's why you've ignored the prompting to fast again, to turn that content off, to leave that room early, to say no to that invitation. Those small nudges weren't random, they were my attempts to restore your vision. But each time you chose ease instead of alignment, your spiritual senses dimmed just a little more. That's why you feel confused even when everything seems fine. That's why your peace is shallow, your worship feels distant, your focus fades quickly. You've grown comfortable in patterns that keep you spiritually dull but emotionally distracted. I'm not saying this to shame you, I'm saying this to awaken you. You cannot afford to lose clarity in a season that requires precision. The next steps I'm preparing to reveal are too weighty, too sacred, for you to enter with fog in your eyes. You need to see with sharpness. You need to discern with boldness. But you can't do that while your spirit is being rocked to sleep by comforts that were never meant to carry you. I want to realign you, but I need your cooperation. I want to reset your ears to hear me again, but I need your willingness to walk away from the noise. And that means sacrifice. That means saying no to what feels good so you can say yes to what is holy. That means returning to the disciplines you laid down when comfort became your compass. Fasting, deep prayer, stillness, time in my word with no agenda. You don't need more information, you need divine revelation. But I won't shout over the things you refuse to release. You've been asking for direction, but what you really need first is detox. A clearing out of the voices, the habits, the settings that have gently lulled you away from my instructions. Come out of the haze. Come out of the lukewarm. I didn't call you to blend in. I called you to burn with truth. I know it's going to stretch you. I know it might feel like loss at first. But what you gain in return, clarity, intimacy, strength, will surpass what you thought you needed to keep. Child, you were never meant to walk blindly while calling it rest. Let me give you back your vision. Let me restore your inner fire. But first, you must choose clarity over comfort, even when it hurts. You've been brushing it off, telling yourself you're just tired, that it's a rough patch, that things will get better with time. But this isn't just exhaustion or pressure, it's a calculated assault meant to drain your hope, confuse your purpose, and slowly dismantle your spiritual defenses. What you're calling stress is actually resistance in the spirit, a battle being waged against your focus, your emotions, and your capacity to hear me clearly. It's not random. It's strategic. The weight on your chest, the heaviness in your thoughts, the sudden emotional swings, the struggle to pray, it's all part of the enemy's plan to exhaust you silently. Because if he can't destroy you overtly, he will distract and overwhelm you until you give up territory I've already given you authority over. He doesn't need to pull you into scandal, he just needs to convince you that this heaviness is normal, that weariness is your new identity, that you're being dramatic for wanting to feel joy again. But I'm telling you now, wake up. This is not merely a season of stress. This is a war for your attention, your consistency, your passion. The invisible realm is active even when you feel numb. And your spiritual passivity will not protect you, it will leave you vulnerable. I've been alerting you through the uneasiness, through the patterns, through the drain you can't seem to explain. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. Because what you're fighting isn't something you can fix with more sleep or better scheduling. This is deeper. The enemy has planted lies in places you haven't been guarding, lies that say you're not enough, that you're falling behind, that you're unworthy of rest, that you're weak for feeling overwhelmed. These lies don't shout. They whisper. They wrap themselves in logic and bury themselves in your inner dialogue until you stop recognizing them as foreign. And slowly, they replace the truth I've spoken over you with noise that sounds familiar but carries poison. You keep saying, I just need a break. But what you really need is a breakthrough. And it won't come by doing more, it will come by falling at my feet and letting me reestablish your strength from the inside out. I don't want you surviving in silence. I want you armed in awareness. This isn't just a rough patch, it's a trap designed to wear you down until you forget who you are and who I am to you. But child, I have not left you unarmed. You have authority to stand against this, but you must first recognize it for what it is. Put on the armor. Open your mouth. Speak my word. Worship through the weight. Pray when it feels pointless. Push when your thoughts say rest, but your spirit knows it's resistance. Don't negotiate with what's been sent to suffocate your purpose. Outnormalize the presence of darkness just because it doesn't come with chaos. Sometimes, the attack is subtle on purpose because the enemy fears what you will become if you stay fully awake. But I'm waking you now. This moment is your call to action. No more brushing it off. No more settling into cycles that steal your fire. You are not called to live under pressure. You are called to reign under promise. And I'm ready to refresh you, but I need you to fight back. Not in your flesh, but in the spirit. With truth. With faith. With trust. Your weariness is not weakness. It's evidence that you've been battling without recharging. Let me fill you again. Let me remind you that the heaviness you feel is not who you are, it's what you're walking through. And with me, you will walk through it, not stay buried beneath it. You've assumed that because someone is close to you, their words must be safe. You've believed that shared history equals spiritual alignment. But what you haven't seen is how the atmosphere around you is shifting, not just in your own heart, but in the hearts of those you've let speak into your life. This isn't about judgment or cutting people off in fear, it's about awakening to a deeper reality. Just as I am always at work in unseen places, so is the enemy. And while I lead through truth and peace, he manipulates through suggestion and imitation. Some of the voices you've been trusting are unknowingly echoing confusion instead of clarity. Their advice sounds kind, but it's laced with fear. Their encouragement feels good, but it's void of spiritual depth. Their intentions may not be evil, but their influence is not grounded in me. And you've been letting their opinions weigh heavier than my voice. That's the danger, not that they're outwardly against you, but that they've become carriers of influence I never authorized. This is not the time to absorb every suggestion as wisdom. This is the time to test everything. Not everyone who says God told me is hearing from me. Not every sign they point to is confirmation from heaven. That's why I'm calling you to sharpen your discernment, to stop filtering truth through emotional loyalty and start weighing it in the secret place with me. Some of the confusion you're battling didn't originate in your own thoughts, it was transferred through conversation, assumption, or imitation. Spiritual influence is real, and it doesn't need your permission to enter when your guard is down. That's why you must remain alert, especially now. This is not a call to suspicion, it's a call to spiritual maturity. I'm teaching you how to separate sound from substance, how to know the difference between comfort and confirmation. You can still love them without letting their opinion override my instruction. You can still walk with them without letting them reroute your path. You can still care deeply while keeping your spirit guarded. Discernment isn't rejection, it's protection. And the closer you get to where I'm taking you, the more necessary this clarity becomes. Because I'm about to entrust you with things that require you to hear me without filter, without confusion, without distortion. You can't afford to be double-minded, swayed by the loudest voice in the room. You must be anchored in truth that doesn't shift with conversation. That means sometimes disagreeing with the ones who stood by you. That means sometimes holding your ground when the majority pulls the other way. That means being still long enough to ask, Lord, is this really from you? And when I answer, you must choose me even if it costs approval. You are not being hurt. You are being obedient. You are not walking in arrogance. You are walking in authority. You were never meant to blend into the crowd. You were meant to discern the difference between influence and anointing. And when you operate in that discernment, I will begin revealing even more. I'll show you what's behind the words. I'll expose the spiritual roots. I'll guide you in peace, not panic. But it starts with your willingness to let go of people-pleasing and step into truth following. You are not alone in this. I'm walking beside you. I'll give you wisdom as you navigate it. But you must ask. You must listen. And you must be willing to separate from what I didn't send, even if it's familiar. Because I'm clearing your path, and clarity often begins with consecration. You're being set apart not to reject others, but to fully receive what I've prepared. Trust me to protect your relationships, and trust me even more to protect your spirit. There's a difference between fear and awareness, and right now, what I'm calling you into is not dread but discernment. You don't need to spiral into worry, imagining worst-case scenarios, bracing yourself for something to break. That's not my voice. That's not my spirit. I am not the author of anxiety. I am the one who brings revelation, not so you'll collapse under the weight of concern, but so you'll rise with wisdom and act with urgency. This moment isn't about chaos, it's about clarity. I'm not trying to overwhelm you. I'm waking you up. Because what you've started to tolerate, what you've begun to normalize, what you've labeled just a season, is something that must be addressed before it grows into something unmanageable. You don't need to be afraid, but you do need to open your eyes. The enemy thrives in distraction. He doesn't always strike with loud, obvious attacks. More often, he whispers comfort where there should be conviction. He smooths over danger with false peace. He uses busyness as camouflage. That's why I'm calling your attention. Because you've been busy but unaware, moving fast but seeing little. And in that hurried rhythm, subtle compromises have slipped in unnoticed. Conversations that don't feed your spirit. Habits that seem harmless. Emotional patterns that you dismiss as mood swings, but in reality, are symptoms of spiritual unrest. You've called it exhaustion, but it's erosion. You've said it's just stress, but it's spiritual blindness creeping in. I'm not sounding the alarm to terrify you, I'm lifting the veil so you can see clearly. I've given you discernment, but you've stopped using it. You've ignored the check in your heart, the moments where you felt me pause you, redirect you, press gently on your chest to slow you down. I never stopped speaking, you just stopped noticing. But even now, in this very moment, I am restoring your sensitivity. I'm bringing you back to stillness where you can hear me without the noise. That heaviness you felt when you're surrounded by distractions, that was me trying to pull you back to awareness. That sudden feeling that something's off, that was my spirit alerting you. And I need you to listen again. Oh, we're breaking it off. And we're assuming you'll figure it out later. Later is too expensive. Later could cost opportunities, relationships, and peace that I'm offering you today. This is not about fear, it's about responsibility. It's about guarding what's holy. It's about protecting your inner life before the outer circumstances shift. I see what's coming, and I'm equipping you in advance. I'm not asking you to brace for disaster. I'm preparing you to walk in wisdom so you can avoid it altogether. You don't need to collapse under the weight of what could go wrong. You need to stand up in the authority I've given you, ask me for clarity, and follow me even when it contradicts your comfort. I'll show you what to adjust. I'll make it clear what needs to change. But your part is to pay attention. This isn't a suggestion, it's a refuge. I'm protecting you through instruction, and that protection starts by listening closely. Don't wait for disruption to confirm what discernment already revealed. Don't wait for breakdown when I've already offered a way out. Hear me now. You are not in danger because I want you to fear. You are being warned because I want you to overcome. Let the fear go. Let the panic break. But don't let the alert pass you by. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart soft. Keep your spirit aligned. I am not trying to shake your confidence. I'm refining your vision. This is love in motion, pulling you into safety before you even knew how close you were to wandering off course. You haven't gone too far. You're not beyond reach. This moment isn't your ending, it's your invitation. The path you're on can still be reversed, not by force, not by desperation, but by surrender. And that surrender starts with a single, unshaken act of obedience. Not performance, not emotional striving, not religious routine, but raw, wholehearted yes to what I've already asked you to do. You keep waiting for a sign, for an overwhelming feeling, for a perfect atmosphere before you move, but I've already spoken. You already know the direction. You felt it in your gut, sensed it in the tension when you stay too long in places I've called you out of. It's not confusion anymore, it's delay. And that delay is costing you alignment. You think the breakthrough will come when everything falls into place, but I'm telling you, the shift will happen when you obey me in what feels uncomfortable. You want the blessing, but the blessing flows from the place of trust. I'm not asking for sacrifice that earns something, I'm asking for trust that'll ease something. Because when you obey me in what doesn't make sense, when you move even when it stretches you, you unlock things that logic could never give you. You've been circling the same mountain, praying the same prayers, asking for clarity, but what I've been waiting for is action. You're not stuck because you lack revelation, you're stuck because you've hesitated to step into what I've already shown you. The relationship I told you to release. The habit I asked you to lay down. The conversation I pressed you to have. The place I told you to leave behind. The fast I nudged you to begin. The gift I've been stirring in you to use. They're not random, they are keys. And when you withhold obedience, you block what those keys are meant to unlock. I haven't stopped loving you. I haven't stopped calling you. But I can't force obedience, it has to be your choice. That's what faith looks like in this season, not grand gestures, but consistent surrender. I know it doesn't feel easy. I know it seems like what I'm asking will cost you everything. But what you don't yet see is that obedience will save you from loss you can't afford. What feels like risk is actually protection. What looks like letting go is actually stepping into covering. I'm not setting you up to fail. I'm inviting you to walk into fullness. But you have to stop weighing your obedience against your comfort. You have to stop negotiating my instruction with your timelines. Delayed obedience is still disobedient. And I love you too much to let you keep walking in circles when the door is open right in front of you. The correction I bring is covered in mercy. The urgency I speak with is rooted in love. I'm not trying to expose you, I'm trying to rescue what's left of your momentum before it slips entirely. You haven't lost your way completely. The path is still lit. But you have to move now, before familiarity hardens into resistance. I've kept your heart soft for this moment. I've preserved the part of you that still trembles when you hear my voice. Use that tenderness. Let it lead you back. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a yielded heart. Take the step. Make the call. Close the door. Delete the access. Start the fast. Repent for the delay. Let him quickly. Release the grip. Obedience is your turning point. And once you move in it, even if you feel unsure, I will meet you with power, with direction, and with a peace that confirms you're finally aligned. You can still turn this around. The window is open, but obedience is the hinge it swings on. Choose it now, while the moment is still open wide. You've asked me for signs. You've whispered prayers in your tired moments, begging me to speak louder, to confirm what you felt deep down, but were afraid to trust. And I listened. I haven't stayed silent. I've been placing my answers in front of you, not always in the way you expected, but always in the way you needed. That friend who randomly spoke truth you didn't mention aloud. That moment where a message hit your spirit so hard you couldn't explain the tears. That post, that song, that sudden encounter that made you pause and feel something stir within your chest again. That was me. Those weren't coincidences. They were carefully arranged intersections between your confusion and my clarity. But the truth is, some of them you dismissed. You overthought them. You said, "It's probably nothing," or "Maybe I'm just emotional." You wanted a thunderous voice, but I gave you quiet alignment. I spoke through patterns, through timing, through interruptions you didn't plan. And because it wasn't dramatic, you doubted it. But child, I don't always shout. Sometimes I nudge. Sometimes I orchestrate a sentence from a stranger that cuts deeper than a sermon. Sometimes I let a delay speak louder than an open door. And now I'm sending it again. A message, a voice, a moment that's not random, it's a rescue. Don't ignore it this time. Don't overanalyze it. Don't wait until it's confirmed by 5 more people. I know how to speak your language. I know how to break through your hesitation. But I also know how easy it is for you to grow numb when life moves fast and pain feels heavy. So I'm coming gently but directly. And I'm doing it again. I'm placing the right word at the right time, and you will know it because your spirit will respond even if your mind is still unsure. That feeling in your gut when you hear it. A tightening in your chest when something inside says, "This is for me." That's not emotion. That's encounter. I'm engaging you. And your response matters. If you brush it off like before, you may miss the timing tied to it. Some doors don't stay open forever. Some instructions are only valid in the season they are given. I'm not threatening you, I'm inviting you. But I'm also warning you. Awareness without action becomes accountability. You cannot say you didn't hear me when I flooded your path with reminders. The people I'm sending aren't perfect, but they are positioned. They carry what you need, even if they don't look like what you expect. Don't judge the vessel. Test the spirit. You will recognize me in the fruit of their words, in the peace that follows, in the conviction that awakens. And when it comes, don't just admire the moment. Move. Let it pierce. Let it guide. Let it shift you out of your stall and back into obedience. The message I'm sending may look like a conversation. It may come through a quiet conviction in your heart while reading this very sentence. However it comes, don't delay. I'm speaking again. And this time, I'm not just trying to encourage you, I'm trying to reroute you. The wrong turn you're about to take looks innocent now, but it leads to a road of regret. So I'm speaking ahead of it. I'm blocking it with truth. I'm surrounding you with messengers of light. Don't tune me out. Don't call it coincidence. Don't let your pride make you think, "I already know this." Revelation isn't just about hearing, it's about responding. And I'm giving you one more chance to do so before the shift comes. I'm still guiding you. I'm still speaking. I'm still placing reminders in your way, not to overwhelm you, but to awaken what's still alive inside you. The question is, will you respond differently this time? I've heard your private cries, the ones that came in the middle of the night when no one else saw, the way your hands trembled from the weight of it all. You didn't say much out loud, but I heard every whisper, every "God, just show me," every desperate internal question. "Lord, am I going the right way? Should I stay? Should I walk away?" You pleaded for clarity while pretending to be strong, and I was listening long before the words left your thoughts. I didn't ignore you. I didn't delay. I've been answering, but this is the moment. I need you to recognize that the answer is standing right in front of you. This message isn't an accident. It's not just encouragement. It's not just another thing you scrolled past at the right time. It is me, speaking to you in the middle of your confusion, reminding you that I've never stopped guiding your steps, even when you couldn't feel my hand. This is the confirmation you've been waiting for. Not to tick a box, not to make you more comfortable, but to awaken what you've been hesitant to believe. That I'm still with you, and I've been leading you through more than you realized. You've grown used to dismissing the supernatural as coincidence, but I'm shaking that mindset now. You didn't stumble here. You were drawn here, pulled by my spirit, aligned by my grace. I know you've been saying, if it's really you, then speak again. I already did, and I'm still doing it now. Stop asking for a louder sign while ignoring the one I just gave you. This is it. I am that present. I am that close. I am that intentional with your life. You thought you needed a dream, a voice from the sky, something dramatic to settle the battle in your heart, but child, I don't need theatrics to confirm truth. My whispers carry more weight than the world's loudest distractions. And right now, I am telling you, yes, this is me. No, you're not crazy. Lo, you didn't miss it. You were not imagining the way your heart stopped when you read those words earlier. You were not imagining the peace that briefly washed over you. That was me stepping in again to say, I'm here. I've never left. And I'm still directing your steps, even when the road makes no sense. But now, it's your turn to believe what you're hearing. You've been saying, just one more sign, Lord, because you don't want to move prematurely. But I'm not speaking to rush you, I'm speaking to realign you. I'm not pressuring you, I'm pulling you back into clarity before your doubt convinces you to stay stuck. My presence is not confined to a church service, a pastor's voice, or a supernatural event. It's in this very still moment, reading these exact words as I reach again for your heart. Will you trust it now? Will you stop second-guessing what your spirit already knows? This is not hype. This is holy. This is not random timing, it's divine orchestration. You don't need another sign. You need to respond to the one I've already given. And if you do, I will meet you in it. I will walk you forward. I will confirm it again with peace. But your step of faith must come first. This is the moment where excuses end and obedience begins. I've heard you, child. Now hear me. This message right here, right now is your sign. Don't ask again. Act. This is not one of those seasons you can sleepwalk through. This isn't the time for passive waiting, for vague intentions, for saying I'll figure it out later. You are standing in a decisive hour, one that has been marked in eternity long before you reached it. And what you choose to do right now will not only shape what happens next in your life, but also what is unlocked or delayed in your destiny. This is a divine intersection. A moment where heaven is leaning in, watching for your response. A moment where everything begins to shift, not because you said the right words, but because you finally moved with conviction. I'm not telling you this to pressure you. I'm speaking with urgency because this window is unique. You won't get another one like it. There are opportunities wrapped in this moment that are time-sensitive, assignments that must begin now, alignments that must be formed or broken, habits that must be uprooted before they spread deeper. You've already begun to feel the spiritual tension. That unrest in your spirit hasn't been random, it's been preparation. I've been softening your heart so that when this exact moment arrived, you would be able to recognize the weight of it. And now you're here. You're no longer at the edge. You're in the middle of it. And I need you to understand your hesitation is not neutral. It is costly. The longer you delay, the more you risk forfeiting what I'm placing within reach. Not because I'm withholding it, but because your obedience is the key that unlocks what's next. I've orchestrated this hour, not just to speak to you, but to ignite something in you that's been asleep. Your spiritual senses have been dulled by routine, by survival, by compromise. But today I am reviving them. Not with emotion, but with power. Not for a moment, but for a mood. Because what I'm doing in you now isn't about temporary breakthrough, it's about long-term transformation. But that begins with your decision. Not tomorrow. Not after confirmation. Now. You not sense the acceleration around you. Doors are shifting. Hearts are being stirred. The ground beneath you is not shaking in fear, it's trembling because I'm about to launch something through you that hell has been trying to delay. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why confusion hit you harder than usual. The enemy knew what you were approaching. But he couldn't stop it unless you chose to stay still. And that's the trap. To make you think that waiting longer somehow equals wisdom, when in fact, it's been wearing down your momentum. I'm not asking for perfection, I'm asking for response. What I require in this moment is not complexity, it's surrender. I will handle the unknown. I will fill the gaps. I will light the path. But I will not walk it for you. Your faith must meet me here. Your will must align. And when it does, you will feel the power of divine timing collide with obedience. You will witness how fast things move when they move with me. What felt stuck will suddenly shift. What looked impossible will bow. But none of that happens while you stay undecided. This is not just a spiritual high point. It is a holy turning point. I've called you to this exact place in time because something has to break, either your delay or your destiny. And I know which one I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for the fullness of what I wrote over you before you were born. I'm fighting for the version of you that no longer hides in confusion, but walks boldly in my will. But I won't drag you. I invite you. I call you. And now, I wait for your yes. This is that moment. And it requires everything. You don't realize how precise my timing is. What looks to you like an open-ended invitation is actually a window appointed, measured, divinely orchestrated. And that window, child, is not guaranteed to stay open forever. Right now, I have held back consequences, restrained interference, redirected certain outcomes just to create space for you to act. You've been given a chance that is drenched in mercy, a moment carved out in my calendar not because you earned it, but because I love you that deeply. But grace does not override responsibility. Grace makes a way, but it still requires your response. I've delayed certain results because I wanted you to see what was at stake. But this delay will not stretch endlessly. I'm not threatening you, I'm showing you the truth. There is an exit I've prepared, an escape route from a cycle that's been draining you, but it's not meant to be admired, it's meant to be taken. And if you wait too long, the forces I've held back will be allowed to proceed, not as punishment, but as the natural result of ignoring repeated direction. I've been speaking in whispers and warnings, dreams and convictions. I've stirred your heart in moments you didn't understand why. I've made you restless in places you used to feel settled. I've placed mirrors in front of you, moments, messages, people just to remind you of who you were becoming and how far you drifted from the truth. This window was never about fear, it's about freedom. But the freedom I'm offering requires urgency. You don't have time to keep wondering if you're ready. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You're not going to feel brave before you act. Obedience is what leads to the courage, not the other way around. You've been circling the same thought over and over again. What if I wait a little longer? But that thinking is not wisdom, it's delay wearing the mask of caution. And it's robbing you of a future you were meant to walk in by now. I know you don't want to lose what's familiar. I know comfort has its grip. But what you don't see is how that same comfort will turn into captivity if you stay. It starts slowly, more spiritual dullness, more emotional instability, more difficulty hearing me clearly. You begin adapting to dysfunction. You start defending compromise. And before long, what once convicted you no longer stirs you. That's how the enemy works. He doesn't slam the door shut, he waits for you to sit too long in the doorway. And then, when you're numb, he closes it behind you. But not today. Not if you choose now. The exit is still there. The door is still open. But you have to walk through it. You won't get this exact moment back. The conditions I've aligned, the hearts I've prepared to support you, the timing I've customized for your deliverance, it's all been carefully arranged. But grace must be met with movement. The Red Sea didn't part until my people moved forward. The walls of Jericho didn't fall until my instructions were followed. Miracles aren't waiting on me, they're waiting on obedience. And this moment is no different. I want to deliver you before the damage deepens. I want to rout you before confusion cements. But I won't violate your will. You must walk through the way I've opened. Not tomorrow. Not after you feel more in control. Now. Because this is the mercy moment. This is the parting path. And once it closes, you may still find grace, but not in this form, not with this ease. That's why I'm speaking with intensity. Not because I'm distant, but because I'm near. Near enough to pull you out. Near enough to cover you as you leave. But not near enough to force what love can only invite. Choose wisely. Choose quickly. This escape won't stay waiting. If my words feel heavy, it's because what you're facing is real. If my tone feels urgent, it's because delay would be dangerous. But don't mistake my warning for condemnation. I am not here to push you into panic. I am reaching for you because I love you too deeply to let you walk toward destruction with a false sense of security. I'm not speaking to shame you, I'm speaking to shield you. The enemy would prefer you to stay numb, to keep scrolling, to shrug off this moment like it's just another emotional wave. But I am not emotion. I am truth. I am the voice that breaks through your confusion, your exhaustion, your doubt, not to burden you, but to lift you out. The path you're on may look calm on the surface, but I see where it leads. I see the cliff just beyond the curve. And that's why I'm speaking louder now, not to frighten you, but to reroute you before the fall. The danger isn't just in what's coming. It's in how your heart has begun to normalize distance from me. You've grown so used to feeling disconnected that you've begun calling it maturity. You tell yourself you've just grown up, gotten busier, become more logical. But I see the truth. You've been avoiding my voice, brushing off my whispers, excusing away your sensitivity, and it's taken a toll on your discernment. You're not making decisions from intimacy anymore. You're making them from instinct. And instinct without intimacy always leads to error. I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to stop the erosion. To interrupt the slow fade that makes you forget what my presence really feels like. To bring you back before what started as small compromises becomes full collapse. You've been handling everything on your own, thinking strength is silence, that wisdom is passivity, that endurance means putting up with things I never told you to carry. But I see the strain. I see the tension in your spirit. I see the sleepless nights, the heaviness you can't explain, the numbness that creeps in even when you're surrounded by noise. These aren't random, they are signs. Indicators. Alarms in the soul that something is misaligned. You keep asking me for peace, but I can't bless what's outside of my direction. You keep asking for confirmation, but I already spoke. And now, I'm speaking again, not to frighten you, but to anchor you. Because love doesn't stay quiet when danger draws near. Love doesn't wait for a disaster to say, I warned you. Love reaches ahead of the impact and cries out, come back. That's what I'm doing now. I'm not standing on a mountain shouting wrath, I'm kneeling beside you, eye to eye, saying, I want you whole again. But to be whole, you must wake up. You must stop ignoring the checks in your heart. You must stop explaining away what you know I've been pointing out. There's no safety in delay. There's no growth in avoidance. What you call protection shutting down your heart, numbing your awareness, postponing repentance is actually a slow descent into deeper confusion. But here I am again, offering clarity, offering covering, offering mercy not wrapped in fear, but in purpose. I'm not asking you to tremble before me, I'm asking you to trust me enough to act. You are not beyond my reach. You are not too far gone. But you are at a crossroads, and pretending otherwise won't change the reality. I am extending my hand, Not because I'm angry, but because I'm protective. Not because I want to catch you failing, but because I want to prevent the fall. This is not a threat, it's a rescue. And my voice isn't echoing in your soul to shame you. It's echoing to save you. Listen while there's still time. Move while the way is still open. Let love pull you before consequences do. You're not standing in just another week. You're not simply going through a stretch of ordinary days. This moment in time is charged with unseen weight. Every yes, every no, every step you take right now is carrying more consequence than you realize. The choices ahead of you may appear small, routine even, but in the spiritual realm, they are gateways. They are hinges on which doors will swing wide open or shut permanently. That's why I'm pressing on your spirit so urgently, not because I want to control you, but because I'm preparing you. I see the ripple effects. I see what's attached to each decision, the people it will impact, the opportunities it will activate or forfeit, the battles it will either prevent or prolong. And I need you to treat this time with reverence, not routine. This is not about being afraid to move, it's about choosing to move with wisdom, with clarity, with your ears fully open to my direction. You've asked for purpose. You've prayed for alignment. You've begged me to use you. But purpose doesn't unfold through inspiration alone, it unfolds through decisions made in obedience. What you say yes to, what you walk away from, what you commit to in the quiet, these are the tools I use to build the future you've been asking for. But child, I cannot bless decisions that contradict my voice. I will not elevate you in places where your compromise would collapse the foundation. That's why I'm urging you to pause and discern before you move. The opportunity might glitter, but is it God-appointed? That door might be wide open, but did I unlock it? That relationship might feel right, but is it sent by me or sustained by emotion? You don't have the luxury of casual agreement right now. You are standing in days that demand precision. And I am ready to guide you, but I will not compete with your assumptions. The next few days are not about momentum, they are about positioning. I'm not rushing you forward just to see you move. I'm establishing you where I can trust you to remain. And the only way to discern what to do next is to sit still long enough to hear me without interference. Turn down the volume of every other voice. Clear the space. Let me speak, not just to your situation, but to your soul. Because once you act, the effects will unfold, and I want you to walk in the confidence that it was me who led you. This isn't pressure, it's precision. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be available. Available to hear what doesn't always match your plan. Available to pivot when I say move. Available to let go of something that once made sense but no longer carries my breath. The next few days carry weight not because they are filled with drama, but because they are filled with destiny. The unseen assignments I've prepared, the divine alignments I'm orchestrating, the healing I'm about to release, all of it is linked to decisions made in this window. Don't let temporary discomfort make permanent choices. Don't let fatigue lead you into agreements that your spirit already told you to avoid. Return to the place of reverence where every decision is filtered through trust in me, not your emotions, not your reasoning, not your fear of missing out. I am not asking you to predict what's next. I'm asking you to follow me one decision at a time. You are not alone in this. I am with you. I've gone before you. But now, I'm watching to see if your heart will trust me when it matters most. What you do now will shape what unfolds later. Like room. Choose well. These next steps will echo. You weren't created to live stuck. You weren't called to repeat the same emotional spiral, the same secret struggle, the same patterns that steal your energy and convince you that change is impossible. But somewhere along the way, what started as a habit became a cycle, and what began as a temporary fallback started feeling like who you are. I see it how you've tried to break it more than once. How you've promised yourself, this is the last time. How you've cried after giving in, vowing to never return. But the pull keeps returning, and each time it does, the voice of defeat grows louder. It tells you, this is just how you are now. But child, I never gave you that label. I never branded you by your weakness. I never identified you by your dysfunction. The cycle you're in is not your name, it's a war for your future. And if you don't confront it now, you risk adopting it as your character. That's what the enemy wants. Not just for you to struggle, but for you to settle. To start organizing your life around the bondage instead of breaking it. To build your relationships, your goals, even your self-worth around a lie that says, "This is permanent." But I came to tear that lie down today. You are not too far gone. You are not beyond the reach of freedom. But the key to your release isn't in waiting for the temptation to disappear, it's in choosing to act differently before your emotions agree. The enemy will never stop offering the bait. But you don't have to keep biting. You don't need to wait until you feel strong to be obedient. You just need to decide, this ends now. Because every time you repeat the cycle, it strengthens the chains. But every time you resist, even if your body trembles and your emotions scream, you are weakening its grip. And I'm standing beside you in that moment, not with condemnation, but with power. I'm not ashamed of you. I'm not tired of you. I'm not rolling my eyes at your struggle. I'm standing in the fire with you, handing you a way out, whispering, you can break this. But to break it, you must stop excusing it. You must stop hiding it behind humor, behind business, behind "this is just how I cope." Oh, that coping mechanism is building walls around your promise. That cycle is stealing days, months, and opportunities that I've prepared for you. And I want you free. Not just functional. Not just improve. Free. I didn't shed my blood so you could learn how to manage bondage. I came to destroy it. I didn't rescue you just to watch you return to what wounds you. I am ready to help you build new patterns, ones formed by truth, not trauma. But new patterns require new choices. And those choices start now. That means interrupting your routine. That means reaching out for accountability when pride wants isolation. That means deleting what feeds the weakness, even when no one else understands why. That means inviting me into the space where shame once ruled. Because where my presence is invited, shame cannot remain. You've been walking in circles. But now, I'm drawing a line. I'm saying, this stops here. But you must agree. You must stop calling this normal when I've called you out of it. The door is still open. The power is still available. But the next move is yours. Will you stay another round in a prison I already unlocked? Or will you walk into the identity I died to give you? You are not the cycle. You are the one I chose to break it. Step forward. Step free. The wind you're feeling right now isn't just life being chaotic, it's a spiritual shaking meant to either drive you closer to me or drive you deeper into distraction. The instability in your thoughts, the sudden fear, the growing pressure, it's all part of a storm that's been permitted, not to destroy you, but to reveal what you've been clinging to. You've tried anchoring yourself to routine, to people, to promises, even to your own plans. But when the waves rose higher, you started seeing the truth none of it could hold. None of it was strong enough to steady you. And I let the shaking expose it, not because I wanted you to suffer, but because I wanted you to see what I've been trying to show you quietly for months. You've been leaning on the temporary, not the eternal. And now, here we are. The storm hasn't passed yet, and it won't until you choose where to place your trust. I'm not saying you caused the storm, but I am telling you that what happens next hinges on your response. You've asked me to calm the winds, to silence the noise, to remove the pressure, but I'm asking you something deeper. Will you anchor in me even if the storm doesn't stop right away? Because what I want isn't just for you to be safe, I want you to be stable. And true stability isn't found in a life without storms. It's found in a soul that refuses to be moved by them. I want to be your foundation, not just your emergency escape. I want you to build your day around me, not just run to me when it all falls apart. Because when you anchor in me, not in success, not in validation, not in comfort, you become unshakable. That's when peace becomes more than a feeling. It becomes your posture. That's when the storm loses its power to dictate your decisions. That's when fear can roar, but your faith roars louder. I'm not asking you to fix the storm, I'm asking you to fix your eyes. To stop scanning the horizon for rescue and instead look at the one standing in the boat with you. I've never left your side. You think I'm distant because I haven't stopped the storm yet, but what if the storm was the very place I planned to reveal myself to you? What if this isn't about endurance but transformation? What if the storm isn't punishment but preparation? You've been fighting so hard to escape it, but now I'm asking you to face it with me. Not in your strength but in surrender. A wind will not define you. The rain will not drown you. But your response, your anchor, will determine what remains when it passes. And I promise you, child, when you anchor in me, not only will you outlast this storm, but you will emerge stronger than you ever imagined. This moment is your invitation to stop panicking and start planting yourself in truth. Open my word. Speak it aloud. Declare my promises, not your fears. Lift your head, not in denial but in faith. And watch how the storm that once overwhelmed you begins to lose its grip. I'm not waiting for the sky to clear to begin working. I'm moving now in the chaos, in the tension, in the unknown. But I move where I'm trusted. I reign where I'm given authority. So give me the wheel. Drop your anchor. And watch peace come, not because the wind stopped, but because your heart finally did. This storm can be stopped. But more importantly, you can be made strong within it. Choose me now and let me hold you steady until the skies break open with light. Here's a strength you've tasted before, one that isn't powered by adrenaline or emotion, but by presence. My presence. You felt it in moments when your mind should have collapsed, but your spirit stood firm. You've experienced it when everyone else walked away and you still moved forward. That strength did come from within you alone. It was the overflow of your closeness to me. But somewhere in the busyness, the distraction, the constant noise, my voice grew faint. And now you're trying to stand in battles that require revelation, not routine. You're trying to discern without direction, move without confirmation, push forward without peace, and it's wearing you down. Not because you're weak, but because you've been disconnected from the very source that empowers you to carry what I've called you to carry. You weren't created to function apart from me. Even your greatest gifts, even your sharpest thoughts, even your deepest intentions, none of it was designed to operate in isolation. That's why your efforts feel strained. That's why clarity is inconsistent. That's why the confidence you used to walk in now flickers like a fading flame. Without my voice anchoring your decisions, your discernment begins to lean on logic. And while logic has its place, it cannot replace revelation. My voice is what makes the difference between a good decision and a God decision. My voice is what tells you when to pause when everything says go, and when to move when fear says stay. My voice doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. It breaks anxiety's grip. It silences competing opinions. It reminds you that you don't need the approval of people when you're walking in the assignment I gave you. But when you go too long without it, your heart begins to fill with substitutes. You start leaning into the advice of others more than the leading of the Spirit. You begin second-guessing what you once knew in your bones. You start wondering if you heard me wrong, not because I changed, but because distance distorts clarity. That's why I'm calling you back. Not to shame you, not to scold you, but to restore your strength. I want to speak again. I want to refresh the frequency of your heart so that when I whisper, you don't wonder if it's me, you know it's me. I want to make you sharp again, bold again, steady again. But that begins with returning to the secret place. That place where you stop performing and start listening. Where the agenda drops and your ears open. Where your defenses fall and my direction rises. You don't need to climb back to me. I haven't moved. I've been waiting. And the moment you lean in, even if your faith is small, even if your thoughts are messy, I will meet you. I will speak. I will guide. Not through thunder or spectacle, but through clarity that cuts through the fog. through peace that overrides panic, through direction that doesn't always make sense to the world but is sealed with my fingerprints. And from that voice, my voice, your true strength will return. Not the strength to oppress, but the strength to endure. The strength to walk away from what's familiar. The strength to hold your tongue when provoked. The strength to keep going when you feel overlooked. You don't need more willpower. You need more presence. And my presence flows where my voice is received. Come back to it. Block out the noise. Silence the substitutes. And remember, it's not just about hearing me, it's about following what I say. That is where your strength lives. That is how you stay rooted when everything around you shifts. That is how you walk in authority even when you feel inadequate. With me, you can move mountains. Without me, even the small hills become too heavy. The choice is yours. I've never stopped speaking. Now, you must decide if you'll start listening again. There is no such thing as neutral ground in the spiritual realm. What you leave unchecked doesn't stay dormant, it becomes active. What you excuse doesn't simply fade away, it gains influence. The more you postpone turning away from what you know is not of me, the more room the enemy takes, not because I've given him authority, but because your delay has created access. Repentance isn't a punishment, it's a rescue. It's not a shameful act, it's a reclaiming of territory that was always meant to belong to righteousness, not rebellion. But when you hesitate, when you quiet the conviction, when you tell yourself, not yet, you're not staying still, you're surrendering ground. And the enemy will never be passive with what you give him. He will occupy the silence between your conviction and your obedience. He will build strongholds out of your compromise, influence your thoughts, alter your decisions, and even shape how you see yourself. Not subtly, but slowly. Strategically. Subtly. Until what once stirred you now barely gets your attention. Until what once convicted you becomes familiar. Until you no longer feel urgency to return because you've forgotten what freedom used to feel like. That is the enemy's plan, to turn your hesitation into habitation. But that's not my plan for you. That's why I'm confronting this now, not because I'm disappointed in you, but because I see what's trying to attach itself to you through what you once surrender. I'm not speaking to condemn you. I'm pleading to awaken you. You've asked me to restore your fire, to bring back your peace, to make your heart feel alive again. But fire doesn't fall on altars that are still holding idols. Peace doesn't dwell where disobedience is protected. You don't need to work harder, you need to return. You don't need to fix everything overnight, you need to repent without resistance. Not with fear, not with ritual, but with raw honesty. With a broken, yielded heart that says, God, I give you back the part of me I've been hiding. That moment right there is where the ground shifts. That's where the enemy is evicted. That's where the influence of confusion begins to break. But as long as you delay, darkness settles deeper. You might think you're managing it, but behind the scenes, it's multiplying. Bitterness grows roots. Lust builds appetite. Pride blinds vision. Fear becomes a voice. And soon, your ability to discern becomes clouded, not because you've changed, but because you've allowed another voice to stay longer than it should have. Child, this doesn't have to continue. You can stop this today. You can take the ground back. You can close the doors that were cracked open through compromise. But it will happen through wishing, it will only happen through repentance. Turn now. Return to your first love. Confess not only the action, but the attachment. Lay down not just the sin, but the storyline you've built around it to keep it alive. Let me cleanse you. Let me make that place holy again. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. I already see it all, I'm simply waiting for you to hand it to me willingly. And when you do, I will step into that space with healing that silences shame. I will restore what began to rot. I will reignite what was smoldering in the background. I will reestablish your authority in the areas where you once gave it away. But the key is repentance, quick, sincere, decisive. Don't wait for another breakdown. Don't wait for consequences to force your hand. Let love lead you to me. Let conviction be the evidence that your heart is still soft. Every moment you hesitate, the enemy plots his next strategy. But every moment you return, I cancel what he's planned. This is how you fight back. Not in striving, but in surrender. Take the ground back now before one more inch becomes another stronghold. You don't realize how much has already been intercepted on your behalf. The traps set in darkness, the lies formed in secret, the moments where the enemy hoped you'd be too tired, too wounded, too numb to notice what was happening. I blocked so much of it without your awareness. I covered you while you slept. I sent angels to guard you when your guard was down. I disrupted alignments the enemy tried to forge, stopped words from spreading, closed doors that looked like loss but were actually divine protection. But child, I need you to know this. The time for silent covering is coming to a turning point. What you choose in this moment determines whether I continue blocking the next assignment against you, or whether the path you're on invites it to take root. The enemy doesn't need your full agreement, he just needs your inaction. He's not waiting for open rebellion, he's feeding off delayed obedience. And while I'm still stepping in, still making a way of escape, I can't override your will. The decisions you make right now will either reinforce the hedge I've built around you or create cracks wide enough for affliction to enter. I've been showing you signs, the repeated patterns, the people whose energy shifts around you, the increase in spiritual fatigue, the quiet but growing sense of disconnect from my presence. Those aren't coincidences. They are signals, indicators, warnings. You've seen enough now to know this isn't just life getting hard, this is a targeted plan to dismantle your calling piece by piece. It would happen all at once. That's not how the enemy works. He works through erosion, through tiny permissions, through gradual distance. But I'm exposing it before it embeds itself deeper. And I'm telling you in love but in truth, if you stay silent, if you delay, if you let this moment pass, the weight of what's coming will feel heavier than it needed to be. That's not fear. It's mercy speaking before judgment has to. You can still cancel it. You can still rise and tear up every plan the enemy wrote in secret meetings about you. You can still interrupt what was about to take shape. But you have to act. That means shutting the door fully. Not half measures. Not emotional promises. Action. Gut the tie. Confess the compromise. Step out of the cycle. Speak the truth. Consecrate yourself again. Because what's on the other side of your obedience isn't just protection, it's positioning. I don't just want to keep you safe, I want to propel you into places of influence and authority. But I cannot elevate what is still entangled. You've asked me to bless you. You've prayed for open doors. But those doors won't open unless the enemy is locked out of the hallway. You can't take new territory while harboring old bondage. SOI's this urgency burns in my words. I'm not pushing you, I'm pulling you out before it tightens. Before what you can still stop becomes what you have to recover from. And child, recovery is always more costly than prevention. You've got time, but not forever. The atmosphere around you is shifting. The next season is forming. And what you do now determines whether you enter it as a conqueror or a casualty. Don't mistake my patience for passivity. I am watching closely. The enemy is hoping you'll do nothing. I'm praying you'll do the one thing that changes everything. Obey. Even when it costs. Even when it's hard. Even when you're scared. Obedience now is what cancels the assignment. Obedience now is what sends confusion back to its sender. Obedience now is what causes heaven to move on your behalf faster than you can imagine. You are not too late, but you must move. Cancel the plan before it becomes your reality. Amen.